I was like, I'm gonna sound funny and my ears are like so swollen, so I'm with you.
I feel sick. I feel better than I did on the weekend, but I think my kids are feeling sick, so it was like a really rough morning. And then they go with my dad, and my dad's also not feeling good, and I was like, this is not a good day.
I get it.
Life, like, sometimes just feels harder sometimes. Yep.
Yeah, I took a
We can sit
growth shot.
in gratitude and like try to be like, but like sometimes things are overwhelming.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, and you're like, would it be easier if I just gave a few things up? And you're like, but those things are really important to me too. So, and it usually does fall on like the female,
For
like
sure.
she
Yeah,
has to
it
give her
does.
stuff up because the children need her specifically. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
a little
I get you.
this morning.
I get it. Your background is really cool.
Thank you. It's one of my pieces in my collection, my home collection that I like to support other artists too. So yeah, how are you? How are you besides being sick?
I'm good. Yeah. It's not even like a sick that's like worth saying, but you just like feel like yesterday I literally, my husband was cooking dinner and he looked over and he was like, "Are you asleep?" I was like,
"Oh no."
on the couch, which I like don't do, like I just fell asleep at like 6:30 and my daughter was sitting next to me. We were both watching like cartoons or something and he
Oh,
was
that's the
making dinner.
best.
And I was just like, and I'm not a person that's like, you can rest. Like, I'm never a person that sits down. So, so it was like funny. And then this morning I was like, something's up. Like, I just felt like my body's fighting something. But, I dropped my daughter off to camp because we're in Florida. So school's out already. And I know. So this is like the first week off. Like, so she does like this half day camp. And my husband's like, "Oh, I can pick her up today." And I was like, "I think I'm just gonna like lay low and like not go try and jump on a ladder and be in like 90 degrees." So here I am.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, maybe we should just rest sometimes.
I know. Maybe that's what this should be about.
Before our bodies shut down fully, mentally and physically.
For real. Yeah, for real. And I'm actually like, it's nice because if I was in my previous job, I would not have been able to take a day off. So, it's nice that I can be like, "Hey, I'm gonna just send you those mock-ups tomorrow." And they don't know the difference. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Cool. So you switched careers recently.
Yeah. So I was teaching in the school district. So I was teaching art for the past, like right out of my like right when I graduated from my master's, I jumped right into like full-time teaching. So and then I had my daughter at the same time. So it was like a new career, a new baby, like all at the same time. So then I did that for 5 years. And then with the plan of like doing my own thing. And then in October of last year, I just had like all these opportunities that were coming up that I was like, if I said yes to those, like I could quit my job and be okay. And so I let my school know and they were of course really bummed, but they're like, "How long do we have you?" And I was like, "I'll give you as long as you need to like find a good replacement." Because the school I worked at was really awesome. And I just didn't want them to be, left with someone that wasn't, equipped. And so they went through the hiring process. I stayed on like an extra month probably just so they could find somebody, but I was sort of like edging my way out. And then I was like thing like I guess last year of 2022. It sounds weird to say that because we're 23, but
So tell me about the opportunities that like you could shift and be like, yeah, I can do this. I don't have like teaching full time is so hard.
It is. It's so hard. And I was teaching K through 5. So I was teaching a lot of like it wasn't a lot of technical skill. It was more like
Fun.
how do you be a human, you know? So it was really challenging. And I worked in, so I don't know about, I don't know how this school system works in Canada, but in Florida, particularly, if you have a school that has a certain amount of poverty or low income families that are at that school, they call them Title I schools. So they're schools that get extra funding from the government because families, you know, can't provide support and things for their kids, like supplies and that kind of stuff. So my first 3 years I was at a Title I school, and it was like really, really tough, like emotionally tough, physically tough. Like, I mean, it was like crying in your car because you were worried about these kids' stuff. And it was a lot. Like, I was like, I don't know how people do this like their entire career staying here, you know? So I had to move schools because it was really hard. And then I moved to another school that was much better for me, not quite as toxic. And then so I was doing kind of like I would say like I was doing painting, some commission work, but not enough for it to be full time. But I'm trained to do like oil painting and stuff. So I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but so I was doing a lot of these paintings where I was like wrapping fabric and then doing portraits on top of them. And so I had this idea where I was like, I'm going to make this whole collection, like 17. I ended up making like 23 of them. And so I wanted to have like a launch, and like I wanted to like learn how to sell them and do all the business things because I had never really learned any of that. So I hired a business coach, and then my plan was like, okay, in 3 years, like between 1 to 3 years, I'm going to make my exit to teaching. And then because of all that stuff that I was learning through business coaching and like how to pitch myself and like how to reach out to people and you know, how to ask for things because I didn't know that I needed to do all those things, which is so crazy, so crazy. And so when I started doing all those things, I started getting all these opportunities and that I was creating for myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a whole like life had unlocked. And then as that was happening, people were reaching out to me going like, hey, I saw this. Can you do that? And I got a DM on Instagram from someone that wanted to do book illustration. And in the past, I had always been asked to do those things, and we weren't really a good fit because I don't do kind of like illustrative work, or, you know, they needed something off me or something like cartoony. And it's not really like my style or what I'm, you know, interested in. And she's like, no, I don't want that at all. Like, I really want somebody that's going to paint, realistically, and I want something that feels very like, you know, like a painting, like a realistic painting. And I was like, oh, that's me, I could do that. And, I just really liked her as a person. Like, she was a mom, she had a daughter the same age as me and her son, and she had like inherited this farm, and she was living this cool life on a farm, and just seemed like a real person. And I actually, you know, just really liked her and I wanted to do this project. And so that came up, and then it's actually out for pre-order right now. So I started painting, they're like all hand painted. So I started painting illustrations for that in November. And then I think that wrapped up in like January. And now it's out. Like, she had a publisher, like she did all of that through the publisher. Like, the publisher kind of just like facilitated it for me. And then I painted a mural on my house and in my daughter's bedroom just to see if I would like it. And I loved it. It was so fun. And from there, I started getting booked for like jobs for murals, and they just never stopped. So
that's what I say. That's what I teach in my mural class. I'm like, how, like, everyone's like, how do I get started? Like, how do I? And I'm like, just paint a wall in your house to show that you can do it, because people need to see things in order to grasp, and they need to see your style, and they need to see, like, it's just, that's the way it works, right? Like, you do, you have so many walls. It's so easy to like grab a little bit of latex paint or your art paints even that you have on hand and go for it. And just make sure you capture yourself doing it. And honestly, like, it can make such a difference to your practice. Well, obviously, because you stopped working full time. Like, and it doesn't have to be the only thing you do. It just can be one of the, like, a few a year, or, you know, or one, or I'm like, oh, after this big one this summer, I'm like, I need a break. Solid, really solid break.
And you're doing a huge wall too, right? Like,
I'm very scared.
It's one story or two?
It's on the ground, but we need a scissor lift. It's like 20 to 25 feet. I used my phone to measure the height because I was like, how do you, unless you go to the rooftop or you have special equipment, I couldn't measure the height. So it was around there. So I would say 25 if, like, I'm going by, like, eyesight, but by like 140.
Yeah, that's a big wall.
It's crazy.
I'm
about to as Kevin Lito said on our podcast, he said, if you are overwhelmed and don't know what to do, just start putting paint on the wall.
It's true. Block it in. Just start somewhere. I had somebody that was like, that said they were doing a wall one time, and they're like, I just painted the whole wall red because, like, I was so nervous about starting that I just needed to, like, do something first, you know, so that it didn't feel so intimidating.
Layer one.
Yes, layer one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's why I think, for me, I think murals are really fun because I am often in spaces where there are other, mostly men, like, you know, hanging lights. Like yesterday, I was somewhere and they were doing like drywall in the ceiling, and there's like contractors in and out, and it's mostly men. Like, I don't ever see a woman. Like, I've never seen a female contractor. I know they're out there. I just haven't seen one personally on my job sites. And so it's cool sometimes to be like, yeah, I'm carrying this ladder in, like, I got this. Like, and it's like it's kind of like a community. It feels like there's like a buzz in the air. You know, I'm not used to that being solo in my studio. It's just me. So that's fun sometimes.
But it's
like,
such a cool thing for people to, like, see and connect with, and, like, people love chatting while you're doing it, which if you're on a timeline really sucks.
It does.
So a lot of times I would work at night. They're like, you can come during the day at the mall. And I was like, no.
No.
I went one day because I knew people would talk. And so I was like, I will put one day in the schedule to be there to talk to people, because everyone, even the security guards at night that were bringing in the ATM money and exiting, they, like, stood and chatted for 25 minutes, 25 of my working minutes. So it's like people, so just like give 10, 15 minutes to each person. It's like, that was my day. You have to be, like, conscious of these things. But I love your murals and well, I love your work. So how we met, I never started. Ashley applied to which call for art was that?
Honestly, I don't remember which one it was.
Were you in both or just one?
I think it was in the winter.
Was it a winter one? That's something I'm like, once a year, maybe. This year, no. Next year, we'll do a prize and an exhibition and a call for art.
Cool.
But yeah. So in Europe, though. So that will be really neat. But anyway, that's how we met. My BHA gallery did a call for art, and Ashley applied, and it was it's just, I think my brain is, like, not on fire. It's so foggy. Starry Night. Was that it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, that was it. And the reason I saw it was because Mira, I believe her last name is Oliveira? She was in another show, and we were Instagram friends somehow. This is, like, so how Instagram is, like, the connections are so strange. But she had done something figurative. And so I think that's how we connected somehow, because I follow like figurative artists, like that hashtag, something came up. I don't know, the algorithm worked. And then she had something that was connected to the gallery show. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I found your Instagram. And then I think I was following you before that because I was aware of your work too.
Oh yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love your work.
And I'm pretty sure we got connected because I had probably mentioned something about parenting and art or motherhood and art or something like that. And so then the algorithm was like, hey, you would like this person.
We can be friends.
Yeah,
I love
right?
the algorithm.
Yeah.
As frustrating as every day I was like, why the fuck is this not working? Thank you for all my friends.
Right.
Like it's like a
true.
terrible love-hate relationship.
It is. It's a frenemy situation. But I mostly think it's just like an addiction-based thing for me, like feeling the need to like check it and that kind of stuff. Like it's that really that's the negative part, you know? For me anyway.
Yeah, for most.
Yeah. I would say most people. Yeah, that's probably true.
That's how they made it.
Yeah, it's true.
So what do you have coming up then? Because it's kind of mural season, right? Do you have any big projects coming up?
So actually, it's kind of funny because a lot of people have said like, I'm part of a mural group, and the founder, she's based out of Missouri. And so for her, mural season is like summer, like everybody's out in summer. And I'm in Florida and it's really, really hot in the summer and it thunderstorm rains every single day. So it's not great. It's not great. Yeah, it's not great for exterior murals, but a lot of people book them then because that's when things kind of slow down for their business. So like schools, you know, like that's the only time that they're really doing murals is during the summer. So I am doing a mural for a school. It's for am I allowed to say it? I don't know. When does this come out? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce it yet.
Later. Yeah. Don't worry about it. No one's gonna hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's from So it's through Metropolitan Ministries, which is like a really big nonprofit in our area, and they have their own school. So they actually run a school, like an elementary school. So I'm doing a project for them, which is really exciting. I think I have probably like 10 murals on the books.
Whoa. Nice.
Yeah. But they're like, you know, some are small, like 1-day jobs, like logos. And then some of them are like the one I'm bidding right now is like a really big wall. Like the one you were talking about. It's not quite as wide, but it's like 2 stories and a lift will not fit in that space because it's like a pool area. So you have to go like through a screen and then it's like dirt, like AstroTurf and dirt. So I don't know if the lift would work because it's not like concrete or cement or anything underneath it. So I might have to build scaffolding.
Yeah, scaffolding is a solution there.
Yeah. So I think
Which is not the worst.
Yeah. And I would actually prefer scaffolding over a ladder any day. Because it really kills me to be like one-footed on a ladder, like twisted, you know?
Yeah, totally. No, and for each project, it's like a different story, right? And like, seriously, and you get in like mad shape.
You do.
For like, if you're going up and down a ladder like 40 times in each session. Someone commented after on the mall mural because I was doing it at night on the ladder, and she's like, "Oh, your legs look terrific." I was like, "Yeah, this fucking mural like was so hard. They'll look the same in a month. Don't worry." And then for one job, I had 50 feet and or 50 feet by like 14, and it was scaffolding, and I had to take it down every time I was there.
Oh, that's the worst.
Crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. I was in really good shape for that one. It was my first one, so I like didn't know.
You didn't know,
It took me way longer. Like 4 times. I'm like cutting that time now by like I'm like a quarter of the time it used to take me.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good.
That's
But
another
these
cool
are
thing I
things you
like
have to
about it
learn.
too. Right. And I think it's like my very first mural I did that I booked. Like I literally did a wall outside of my house, and then I did my daughter's bedroom. I mean, it was not anything complicated. It was just like, here's like hibiscus flowers, like kind of like patterns, and then like a Frozen mural because my daughter
Put
loves
it
Frozen.
Did you put it on your Instagram?
I put it on, so I use Thumbtack, which is like a lead generating source for like home things. Like you can hire, like I hired my daughter's face painter there one time. And so I used Thumbtack and I got a job like within a day. So I was like,
Is it
whoa,
like
okay.
Pinterest, but a different thing?
No, it's like so customers can go on there and hire like painters or house cleaners, or I'm trying to think of like some other ones that are popular on there, like wallpaper installation, like all kinds of things that you can like hire, a service for. And
Right.
Muralist is one of them. And so if you can like upload examples of your work, and then you can
Oh, I see your
pay for
flowers.
leads.
I'm checking it out.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
did
these are
like
great.
I did like hibiscus, like we had like this little courtyard at our house. And so I was like, let me paint this wall because it's just a perfect little square. And if I don't like it, I can just keep repainting it over and over and over. And so we did that. And then I had somebody that was like, hey, I really want to do this nursery for my daughter. Can you come out? And of course I was like, yes. Like, yes, what day do you need me? So I drove out there. She lived like an hour and a half away. She paid for my hotel to stay overnight. And
sorry, I'm making that face. That's literally what I teach people. It's in the mural contract.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
No, it's still like typically for a children's bedroom, like my cold is taking over, so I apologize.
No, you're fine. You're so fine.
I've wiped my nose like 40 times, and I know it's a video. I'm like, don't wipe your nose again. Don't do it. And then I like do it because I have to. But like for a children's bedroom, you're not like expecting to like they'll pay for your hospitality.
No,
Usually
I know.
hospitality, room and board, that's like with bigger projects, and you do put that in the contract.
Yeah. And but she lived up like far enough away where it was like if I could bang this out in like 2 days, or I could drive there and drive back. And I think they were of the mindset they were like, we would just rather have it done like now, get it done. And typically, like if you're, kind of a more established person, you're not going to get them to come that soon. So I think it was kind of like, well, we've got this person that could come now, or we could wait 2 months, So, so I came out and I was like so nervous. I was so nervous because I was like, I only have 2 days, like I have this, like my husband's at home with our daughter for like 2 days straight. And, like I know because he works on the weekends too. So it was just like the whole thing was like, I got to get this done. The pressure was on. And it was just so funny because I'm like, now I could have done that and it would have been like, I could have done that in 1 day. But it was just like setting up my projector and like figuring out how to like mix paint on, like, because mixing latex
even when
is totally different.
Gosh. Yeah. Well, and you show up to a site and I noticed that you were doing murals, but I didn't like carefully look at all of them. These are so good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So the sometimes though you can show up to a site and like you always leave room for unexpected things. Like one wall I showed up to and there were holes in it and it wasn't patched, and I was like, paint doesn't cover up holes. I don't know how you feel about that, but like,
so what did you do?
They called the like maintenance people and they came and did it, but that was 2 hours and he like patched it up. And so I'm like, there for 2 extra hours, like watching paint dry. Yeah. And I just like, oh, cute. Yeah, these are so good. You're using latex like interior and exterior paint, or are you using like art paints?
Yeah, I'm using interior and exterior paint. And now my garage is full. So if I ever need a color, like I have 35,000 colors of everything.
Right. You're like, I use Cortacam of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like,
Okay.
it's nice though, because now I'm learning like what brands, like before I was just like, I'm just using Bear, like the middle of the road, brand. And now I'm like, oh, now I know that if I use like Bear Marquee or
Bear
Bear
Marquee, I say
Dynasty,
it
it's
all the
like the
time.
best. It's the best. Bear Marquee is the best. It's so good. You can get away with like 1.5 coats of Bear Marquee. Whereas
I
like
know.
Whereas like the other stuff, you need like two. One time I was doing palms and I didn't get Bear Marquee. I had like just regular, and I was trying to. It was like a lime green. I had to do like, I swear, 5 coats.
Yeah, it's never worth it. I had like this orange color in one mural, and orange and reds are like the worst, and
Yeah.
yellows
Yes,
basically.
yellow. Yeah.
Anything like that you want super vibrant that doesn't have
Yeah.
like white mixed into it.
Right.
Even like
Right.
blues. And I had a fire truck in one, and I think it took 7 coats. And then I had like a
Ugh.
base coat, and the woman at the hardware store, I won't say which one, she was young, so I guess she probably just didn't know. I was like, I want this
Yeah.
color for the mural. And she's like, honestly, there's no difference between, and this is when I was first starting out.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the things. And now I'm like, fuck.
There's a huge difference.
I 4 coats.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was 4 coats of this orange. And that was the like main thing behind the text in the
Yeah.
wall. So that was like 21 feet of orange and like by
Wow.
11. And I was just like super frustrated. I was like, don't listen to people.
Yeah.
No, usually the hardware store is really good. And so is the paint store if you have like mural questions. Or
Yeah.
you can listen to this podcast or take my class.
Yeah. And
Right?
I will say too, I had the same thing happen to me when I first started out. And in Florida, we have a lot of murals that are outside. And so you need like the UV coat, like at the end, or else they fade. So I was doing a mural that was outside on the beach. So I was like, I need like a sealant. And so I went, I did some research, and they said, okay, this is like the best one for that. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just trusting like that they know what to do. And and so I get there, I do the sealant, and then like, I want to say 2 weeks later, maybe a month later or so, I had to go back to the area because I was doing a paint party for them, because I did this mural for them. And I'm like, can you come back? We really want to do a paint party with like the group. And I was like, yeah, that'd be really fun. And it was like, I went back and the wall was like yellow, like it was yellowing. And it was like, this was like a month. Like, I mean, it had not even been that long. And I like panicked. I like pulled up and I panicked. Like my heart was like in my stomach.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? And I was like, why didn't you call me? And they're like, we didn't want to like you to feel bad, or like I don't know, like. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so embarrassing. I was like, oh, hi, sweetie. It's my daughter.
Hi.
What are you doing?
Mommy's doing an interview for a podcast. This is Brandi.
Hi.
Not right now, baby. I'm sorry. Mommy's got to go to work, and then I'll read you a story later, okay? Okay. Bye. Can I keep this? Okay. Love you. You have to go take a nap real quick, and then I'll come play with you, okay?
Okay.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah.
Usually it's a huge fight.
I get it. I
Yeah.
can't even do anything with them around anymore. Ever.
Well, I didn't know she was coming back. I thought they were going to tennis. So.
That's okay. Okay, so what did you do? What did you do when it was yellowed?
So I immediately joined a group, like a mural group that I found on Facebook. And I was like, hey, I took a picture of it and I was like, hey, this is what they told, like, this is the sealant they told me to do. Like, what should I do? Like, do I have to paint this mural all over? Like, I was freaking out. And they were like, so the base of it was like this bluish color. And then it was text, like it was their logo. And then it had like 3 circle medallions because it was like an organization. It was like, I don't know if you guys have you have the American Legion. Well, you don't have the American Legion because you're in Canada. But it's like like a veterans organization.
Yeah,
for, like,
we
the
do. We
military and
have
stuff.
like Rotary Club and
Yeah, it's like kind of like the
Yeah.
Rotary Club. It's like that. So they have like their little insignia thing. So they're like, you could just take that base color, which I had. So then I just kind of like painted around it, like all around where like you could see it yellowing. And then I did the white, like repainted the white because that's where you could see it. And then I recoated it with like a different sealant because it turns out she told me to do an oil-based sealant and not a water-based sealant, which I was like, why did she do that?
Yeah.
so that's why I'm like, I need like to double check because maybe she was thinking I was painting something. I don't know what she was thinking that she was telling me why she was telling me to do that. But
yeah,
yes,
no, there's
never
like
again.
so many technical answers to that. And like, is it easier for you to get the anti-graffiti stuff and the UV protectant? Like, is it easy to get your hands on that?
It's really expensive to do that one.
It's super expensive, but like you can like barely get it here.
Yeah, no, it's really expensive.
Also though, it saves you, but like it's expensive, but like there's, from what I know and from the research that I've done, there's two solid ways to do it. The one is with golden, and they have like a whole guide, and it's called isolation coat. You do 2 golden isolation coats, and then you do it is an oil-based varnish, and it's a golden varnish, and it's for weatherproofing and graffiti proofing. The isolation coats protect it from, protect the acrylic, and then the varnish is removable if there's graffiti.
Right.
However, it's like a bitch to get on because it's oil-based, especially if you're doing like large surface areas.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's supposed to be sprayed on, but the last time I did that, it clogged up a spray gun. And those are expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
So the solution is the Sherwin-Williams anti-graffiti marine, whatever, but it's expensive, but like super expensive, right?
The one I do is the one I do now. It's not like an anti-graffiti one, but it's like a sealant, and it has like UV. There's a Masters Dead Flat, and it's nice because if you have a different finish from the wall, like if the wall's a different finish, it doesn't show up. And then there's another one that's just
Masters Dead Flat.
Yeah, but there's like different ones. There's a UV one, and then there's I can't remember what the other version is, but there's 2 different versions of it. But it's like $100 a gallon, and I can only get it online. I can't buy it in the store.
Then it is similarly priced to the anti-graffiti.
Yeah, the Kills one is the cheapest one. That's usually what I do for like most of my murals, especially if it's like just an interior space and it's not like, a high traffic zone or anything.
Well, interior ones don't even technically need it at all because latex paint is like, if it is a bathroom though, it's like you do want it, but you can actually just throw on like a Liquitex gloss or matte varnish, like you would on a painting. So that's a solution.
Yeah. It's really similar,
but it's similar, and it's probably the same thing in a different bottle, right?
It's true.
But that's the like most confusing part for everyone, I think. And like the last thing you want to do is put on the wrong shit, right? Like, and then be like caught in between a rock and a hard place, and like repainting stuff or my
nightmare is like a client calling me and being like, the paint is peeling, and I'm like, like and I'm like already on another job site, like worried about the 10 jobs in the front,
Are you designing digitally and then projecting?
Yes. Yeah. So I did a couple where like I hand painted them, and I found that took a really, really long time, and it didn't really do anything extra for me. So I'm projecting most of the things. I wouldn't say like my digital works, my digital craftsmanship is not the best. It's not like
I keep trying to, with the big one I'm doing, I keep trying to get it it's so much easier if you have it like really good digitally. And I'm like, I'm not a really good digital artist, so this is really hard. I did have this, like, actually this week, I had this like burst of, I wish I had my son stole my iPad. Anyway, I had like a burst of digital art creating, and I like love them, but it's a totally different style. But I was like, if these catch on, I could mural these till the cows come home. So hopefully, but in like my typical way of creating, like the way I create, like you do, like, with traditional materials, it's hard to translate that into digital work and then translate it into a mural as well. But
it hasn't, stopped me too much, because like sometimes I'll go, okay, this is like I'll take I don't know, like I'm doing one now where it's like a trolley, isn't it, like an old school trolley, it's like a historic district, and then there's like palm tree, and then there's like a street lamp, and like all these things, and I'm just kind of like, erasing around the edges and then like putting them in, and I'm thinking like, okay, I just need you to imagine that it's not going to be like, you're not going to see the edges, it's not, like it's not going to look janky. Like,
it is easier to digitally mock up and like skip the steps of I had one for our city, and I was like, I'm like, do you have like an aerial shot of the city that I honestly, and then I was like, I had photoshopped, I was like, how to make photos black and white on Photoshop.
It's true. And then I just not digital either. It's so true.
No. So then, and I was like, to sketch this out digitally nicely is going to take me 6 hours. And I'm not there right now in my life where I can sit and do anything for 6 hours. And so I show up with like text and stuff, like that has to be right. That has to be perfect, which is easy. We have Canva. Like, come on, if you can't figure that out. My grade 6s that I teach love Canva. So
I love Canva too. I use Canva. I love it.
So do your text in Canva, and then the hard stuff, just throw the photos up and project. And like usually, like 9 times out of 10, when you're painting it, if you're a seasoned painter, like, that's step one. Step one. I do not encourage an emerging artist to walk up to a mural wall and be like, I can do this now, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, I would never say, not that it's not possible, but I would think like you're comfortable in your style and what you get and your abilities first. And so I just like black and whited that photo behind that mural. Took me like 6 hours, besides the wall patching. And
I think I saw a video of you doing that, actually.
It was just a one coater. So
that's fun. I love
that was my half tube of paint. I was like, you'll never guess what I just did, everyone.
I love that. And sometimes it's like fun, because even just line work is super, it makes a huge transformation, and I think once people start to see that on a wall, they're like, wow, you just did that with like one color and like lines. And it really like totally transforms the whole space, and then it becomes addictive.
Everyone likes my simple murals that like are nothing. I'm like, that took me half an hour in my bathroom, and it's my most popular thing. Cool.
You're like, the thing that took me 2 weeks, and then I was like,
or 3 years on my wall in my studio.
For real.
No one cares.
Like the paintings I make like on a square, like that take me like a month, like everyone's like, that's nice. And then I paint a logo in a day, and they're like, whoa, cool.
Let's get her in for that.
But you know what though, it's so funny though, because I can make more money painting a logo in one day, generally. Like if I did 2 logos a week, like painted, like hand painted, not like graphically designing a logo, but if I hand painted like 2 logos a week, I would be making probably more money than I would be in a week teaching. So it's like, I would much prefer to do that and then have those other 3 days to do what I want to do, and like in the studio
Yeah.
or like, whatever.
1000%.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's awesome, because some people are like, oh, painting logos, like that's not that really that exciting. And I'm like, I honestly love painting logos. Like, I think it's really
Like you're
fun.
physically, this is the thing, like, and Kevin and I talked about it too. It's like the physicality of it. Like you're getting out, you're talking to people, you're going to a new space,
Yeah.
who cares what you're doing, really?
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get like when it comes to custom work and when it comes to client relations and like dealing with that, like there is just like a balance of like collaboration and you work together to find the right fit between the two of you. And in a good partnership, it will likely work out. If it's kind of you're getting your feelings from the beginning, I would stop right there and stop wasting your time 100%. And that does happen. But when you digitally mock it up and design it and everything, and you're like, this is good, right? Usually you're good to go.
Yeah.
You're safe. And that's why you have the contract with 50% down and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I had another question for you. Yes, like time-wise, like it's so great that like you get now freedom, like a little bit of compromise, but you're still doing what you love has allowed you like freedom. I wanted you to, I'm asking for the listeners too, because they're learning here. Like, obviously this is a mural based chat, so we just went there. So what are you charging per square foot? Or is that how you're charging?
Yeah. So generally I'm charging per square foot, and I have like a 2-tiered price. So I have like tier 1, which is kind of more basic. That's like logos. If you have like a really limited color palette, then that falls into that tier 1 category, and that's $15 a square foot. And then tier 2 is where it's more like full color, more layers, more blending. Like if there's any kind of blending that's happening, then that's usually tier 2. And then that's $25 a square foot. And then usually I'll add materials on that. But sometimes, depending on how big the budget is, if I feel like, okay, I can buy $500 worth of supplies and just include it, then it kind of is
for a big
like
job.
nice for them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So like sometimes I'll do that, but if it's like I don't really know how much the materials are going to cost me, and I'm like I don't want to promise something, and it's only going to be like $80. Like if I only need like sample sizes or something, like 20 sample sizes, then I'll be like, I'll add it in there, and then I have to charge sales tax, so that's in there, just for labor, but not for anything else. Yeah, so that's usually how I do it. And then I do a design fee, which I probably will raise in the future, but in the beginning I didn't really know, because sometimes the projects don't require a lot of designing, and then sometimes they do require a lot of designing. So it's kind of like sometimes I feel like I need to charge it, and sometimes I feel like I don't. And then for that, it's really more like a booking fee rather than a design fee. That's kind of how I look at it. It just makes sure that they're serious about it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I did not. Just so I should definitely like add that to a class. I never do it. I like treat it as a discovery call, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like if people are taking it seriously, it is a good idea.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
I've
up
just
to
had
the
it,
person, right?
Yeah. And I've had it happen where like I have designed for the project and then they ghost me. So that
terrible.
Yeah. So then I learned really early on, like I just can't do that, because I spent, 4 hours, which is like my only work time that day. Like I only had 4 hours.
Speaking of, I totally have done that. Your design. So how much is sorry, I'm glad you're being so transparent.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
How much are you charging for a design fee?
So my design fee is $175. My daughter came back. Merritt, go back to bed.
This is so much fun.
Dad's now time enforcer. So she's like, is Dad still here? And I'm like, yeah, Dad's still here. Yeah, so I charge $175 for the design fee, and then that's also like their like slot. So like if I have, if I'm booked out like 2 months, but they've paid the design fee, then I'm like, you're in, like you're next up, unless they have like a deadline. Like if it's a business and they're like, we only have, this week that we can do it, contractors are in and out, then I try to move things around, but
accommodate your client. Yeah.
But a lot of my clients are like, we just really want it on our wall, and it's not like there's no time frame on it. We just want it. And then I did have this happen recently where I had an interior design firm hire me for their client, and they told me up front, and I kind of got a vibe, and like you had mentioned before, like you get a vibe in the beginning, and maybe like it's not a good collaboration, but she said, they're really nice, but they're very particular. And I just want you to be really clear on the design fee and what they get for that. And then if you need to charge it again, like don't feel like you can't say that to them. So I was like, okay. And she was right. They're really picky. And they had like a bunch of people on the team. So it wasn't one voice. It was like 5 voices, and all the 5 voices. Yeah. So
that's why I hate like boards and stuff. I'm like, boards don't work because no one ever makes a decision.
They don't. And that's what happened. So I went through the design process with them. They wanted to always like meet on calls. And I was like, guys, I have like I can't just like jump on calls with you like every week. Like you just need to pull the plug and make a decision.
Yeah.
So, so I went through all these design fees, these design calls with them. And then sure enough, in like 3 weeks, they were like, they just, can't really make a decision. And because at that point, the ideas were so watered down that I was like, what you're asking for are essentially like photographs of things that you already have in the building. And at that point, why are you even making a mural if all you want is just photos that you already have, So, so they paid the design fee, which was not, was $175, which to them was probably nothing. And then, I got paid for my time, and then I didn't feel bad that I wasted it. So it was a valuable lesson.
That is. No, like I feel like that is something I'm definitely going to add that to the workbook. The 36-page workbook. Murals are so complex that like I'm like, I can't leave anything out. And because I've mentored a lot of people through murals, I'm just like, I want to cover everything, but sometimes you forget. And Stephanie Rose, who came on she does a lot of courses. She's like, you can't make courses too big or people don't care about them. And I'm like, that's true, except for with like murals, like if you leave someone without information, like it's a big deal.
Yeah. This is not
like it's a big deal to like, like supply them with the wrong information about material. Like, Brandi Hofer said that,
Yeah. And that's the hard thing with murals too. Like I came at it, like I feel very confident in knowing how to paint. So I was like, okay, I can figure anything out on that in like regards to that. But there's a lot of nuance to mural where like, it's almost like you're in some ways like a contractor, like I feel like I have to be more like physical and like in a space, dealing with like electrical stuff and like, other things that are happening around you, or like logistics, like how am I going to fit all this stuff in my car? And like, like there's a lot of like parts.
There's so many moving parts that are like, I needed a projector for this, but there's no plug-in, or it's too close to the wall and I can't get far enough away with my projector. What am I going to do?
Yes.
What am I going to do?
Yeah. Like I was on a project for sweet greens. I don't know if they have them in Canada, but it's like a farm to table kind of like place. Really good. And they needed their logo with their ethos statement, and it was behind a staircase. and it was like all text. It was just like a sentence. Like it was like rows of text. And I was like, and I got there at like 5 o'clock in the morning because I needed it to be dark so that I could see. And I was worried, you know, that I wouldn't find a spot because it was a really busy area. And I was like, I need to load all my equipment in. So I need to like back in close and like all this stuff. So I got there like crack of dawn. And then I got there and then I was like, oh no, how am I going to do this? So I had to like piece it together in like 4 parts. It was like really tricky. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I figured it out. So.
Yeah. No, there's always, like you said, like we talked about, like you get, it's almost like you should do like an on-site tour and first, but also that's something that like takes time and energy, right?
Yes. And also
you're like, okay, ready to set, there's a plug in there, there's stairs there, there's a ladder, I forgot my step ladder a few times and I'm just like, and then I have to ask for a step ladder and it's just like so embarrassing. Like, how did I forget a ladder? Like,
I went to a job site one time and recently, and I didn't have my extension cord, and I was like, I don't have an extension cord, and I was like, and then so there was the contractor was on site, and I said, hey, do you mind if I borrow your extension cord? And he was like, oh yeah, it's cool, it's in my truck, and like it was no big deal, and I was like, you know, I need to stop like feeling bad about asking for things. I don't know if that's just me or what, but like if somebody asks me, people are usually
really happy to help.
They're so happy to help, and they were like, see you later, Ashley, hope you have a great day, like all this stuff. And I was like, they were so nice. Like I don't even know what their names were, but they knew what my name was because it was on my shirt. But
no, there's some great people. I know Canadians are famous for being like kind, but I don't know if you've heard that.
It is, like, yes. It's definitely in the ethos for sure.
like getting through a door, you're like, no, you first. No, you.
That's cute.
So and there are unkind Canadians and there are kind Americans and unkind Americans. But the Americans that I've come across are very kind. And see what's funny, and I know we have to go soon, but like I feel like I sound like you, but apparently I don't. Like they're like, you have the cutest accent. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I sound just like you, no? And they're like, no.
It's actually
like,
not.
I don't hear it.
It's not that strong though.
Okay.
Only certain things come out and I'm like, oh, it's cute. But I'm sure I sound like I have an accent though. So
no, you just sound like
is that normal?
Movies. No.
I went to I had family that live in New York, like upstate New York, and so I would always go up and visit them in the summer and they'd be like, your accent is so cute, say your name. And so I would say Ashley, and they would be like, and they would all giggle, and I'd be like, what am I saying? But in upstate New York they say a like eh, so they were all like Ashley.
Oh yeah, and that's a clear accent.
and I was like, and I was like, oh, cool, all right.
Well, even on the like, if you go like Eastern Canada, well, for sure, like Newfoundland has its very own dialect, like entirely. Like you can barely understand their English. Basically, it's like very thick Eastern accent. But then if you go like Toronto, like I went to school on the East Coast at NASCAD University, and so they would say Brandi, but they would say Brandi. And I was just like, okay, that's new. So you say, there is like,
how do you say it?
Brandi.
And they say Brandi.
Like it's like you Southern. Smile when you say it. You got to say like Brandi.
That's cute. It's like a Southern accent.
It's weird. Like it's not Southern, but it's definitely like a little bit different. And like obviously, I guess every country has like variation of different ethnicities and accents and stuff that goes on with like where settlement happened. And I don't know how Newfoundland got so different. I think it was like a Viking settlement.
Oh, cool.
I'm not a historian. I shouldn't, but I think so because it's like on the very edge north. So it makes sense that like those Vikings are north and they were north, and
well,
that's
like even in somewhere. Like in the area, like right above Minnesota, there's a lot of like Finnish people. So they have like a different, I think they say their vowels slightly different.
They have a special accent for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and of course we have French.
Well, yeah. Then that's
we have
totally
French,
its own thing.
which I don't speak. But it is like all taught in our schools and stuff because that's our second language or first language for some.
Yeah.
So.
I took French for 3 years and I have nothing to show for it.
No.
And I grew up in Florida. So it's
I'm like really,
instead
of croissant, like everyone says it, I say croissant. And that's about as good as I got to paint in France. So
that's cool. The one thing I learned in Montreal was you say way, not we. I was like,
oh, the French in Montreal is very different from the French in Paris. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Parisian French.
Way. And I was like,
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also got to be in Montreal for over a month, doing an art project thing. And that was really fun. But still, no. And then like 3 months later, I went and lived in France and painted. And like of all that time, like nothing really stuck.
Yeah, it's conversational. I think like I could sort of understand things. My husband's some of his families lives in Montreal and they're from there. So we would visit them and stuff. But yeah, I didn't know what I was saying.
Is he French?
No. So I don't know. It's like his first cousins or something.
Oh, I see. My husband's family, they were like, it's mama and papa. Like, so they were French, but
I love it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. He doesn't speak French though, but his sister does. But yeah, it's neat. It's neat to have those things, and I don't know what we're talking about anymore. We're totally wrapped up. I think we're totally wrapped up. We can I might have I'll put a note there. I don't usually cut anything out, but we got very
I'm gonna blame the cold medicine.
And I'm so like it was a rough night and rough morning, like I said. I cut out and like I would say at 11 o'clock for the last 50 minutes. Okay, so any tips? Do you have any more tips for people like just starting out with murals? Like what's your biggest tips for people?
Biggest tips. I definitely think the projector speeds up the process. So if you are interested in doing it and you want to try it out, there's some really low cost ones. My first one that I got was called a nebula, and it's like more for shooting video, like projecting videos and stuff. But it hooks up to Wi-Fi. So if you wanted to try it out in a place where you have access to Wi-Fi, that's a cool one. It's portable. It's like a little like tube. If you don't want to like invest in like a full projector that needs to be like hooked up that has like a higher res. So I used that one for like the first 3 months, I think. And it was like maybe like $70 or $80. But the really, really first thing is like just do something at your house, or if you live in an apartment, like just do it in your apartment, because you're going to figure out really quick if you like it or if you think it's the worst thing ever. And some people really don't like, they don't like the physicality of it, which I totally understand. It's really physical. But it can be a total game changer financially for you and allow you the freedom to build a kind of life that is more aligned into whatever you want to do. And if you're not in an area, like I'm in an area where murals are really popular. So I know some people might not have that same access, but all of the opportunities besides the ones that I got through Thumbtack were, by asking. So, if you're really interested in trying it and you live in an area where murals are maybe not as present, going up to businesses and asking them, like, hey, would you mind if I painted your logo, or something that would create buy-in for them and make it beneficial for them, because murals can be revenue streams for businesses. It creates opportunities for people to visit them. So if you can sell it in that way, it becomes mutually beneficial for them.
In my class, I literally have I have a client relations portion, but I also have spin it as an ad budget.
Yeah.
Like, people have so much like they have a huge advertising budget. And when you think of, you're like, this is like turns any space into a thriving public destination. My one mural, like if you record your Google hits on your mural, my one mural gets like 10,000 hits a year. Be like, my murals get like this many hits a year from people standing in front of it or visiting it, or like it's a huge tourist thing. Like, and so you're like, take the 10 or 40,000 or 60,000. Like I'm asking for like 5% of your ad budget to like, and this is like, people are just going to tag you. And like, especially if it's like a cool restaurant or a cool space, or like there was this like floral tea room in a city, because I don't live in a very big place. So that is definitely, but I have a very supportive community and they're just coming around to everything. And they're great. So it is possible. I live in one of those places you described. And this place was like, they had like floral stuff everywhere, served really cool drinks that were like floating and steaming and whatever. And I was like, oh, a floral mural would be so cool in your space. And like, yeah, it would. And then they ended up not wanting to pay me. Really? They were like, we only have $2,000. I was like, I have to travel from another city. So, and that's not my price for murals, because floral murals would take like a lifetime. Because florals are time consuming.
Blending.
And like kind of my nightmare in a way. Unless I'm doing like my own like really expressive ones, or like a different look to a floral. So sometimes partnerships don't work out, and it's easier to like have 2 phone calls and be like, yeah, that's not my fee, sorry. And then they're like, okay, we don't want to pay you. And they're like, okay, great, thank you so much, good luck to you. Like that's it, that's all it is. Like it's like a 30-second uncomfortable conversation, but it's an important uncomfortable conversation.
And I got really into, like, when I first hired my business coach, I got really into list building. So like I would create an Excel sheet. Like I haven't had to do this for murals, but I have had to do this for other opportunities. Like I really wanted to do, like get my paintings in this one gallery. And so I just reached out to like 10 galleries that I was really interested in. And then I just, I did a personalized pitch to each one of them. And so it's the same thing if you wanted to do murals, right? Like you just have a list and you say like, these are the businesses that I'm going to reach out today. And then maybe out of those 20, you get 2 responses. And then out of those 2 responses, you get one person that says yes, and then that one yes then becomes your next 5 jobs. So that's kind of how it started.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm going to include that. I love list making too. And for anything you're doing, I do it for the podcast. I'm like, these are my dream guests.
Yes.
I ended up getting one. I ended up getting Jan Arden. But she owned one of my paintings. So it was like a dream guest that was like a reality, and getting her. But like, you never know. Like people don't want to sit down with me for an hour and talk about who knows what.
But the worst thing they can do is say no. And if you if you say like, okay, the worst thing that's going to happen is that they say no, it's like, okay, well, I already put the worst thing on that's going to happen. Like, and then that's it. Like, that's not that terrible. Like,
it's so, exactly. Like, and every opportunity and every rejection is leading you to like the right path. And that's what coaching and mentorship and meditating and all that stuff is like good for. It's like honoring and trusting in your journey. Which some days like today, you're like, why is my journey feeling so hard?
I know. I got like a no for this like cool job that I really wanted. And it was like, that was a bummer. Like I spent a lot of time on that pitch, but then like I used that design that I created for a background for another mural, and it was cool. So I was like, it wasn't for nothing.
No, totally. You reuse mural pitches and concepts and ideas. Like if it looks good in one space, it'll probably look good in another. And that just wasn't the right job for you. And and then your time isn't wasted either. Okay, I'll let you go. I have like I just actually want to like cry. I'm like, no, I'm
Oh,
just kidding. I just want to cry and eat some junk. It's Wednesday, so grocery day is Friday. And usually by Wednesday, we're like out of stock, like of snacks, like anything that
yes.
you like want to binge on when you're feeling shitty is gone. So
You gotta Uber
I
Eats
might
it.
have to
Oh
do
wait,
it.
do you guys have Uber Eats?
Oh,
I
we
don't know.
don't know. We have skipped the dishes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
no, I'll just do a
That's
gas
not really
station
junk
one or
food though.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, gas
Yeah.
station. Yeah.
No, I have like
Yeah.
I'm doing a DIY mural course actually that it's in editing for
Cool.
like DIYers to like, you know, like an affordable one for who like just want like if not an artist,
Yeah, they
but
just
a
want to like
creative
create a
person
wall.
wants like,
Yeah.
I want to try that. I think I could. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of those out there. So I'm editing that and / sharing my cute DIY bathrooms that I ripped out a sink and then my husband had to like fix.
Whoops.
I was like, oh, this is the worst. And then I like YouTube plumbing and like I ripped out the sink and he's like, we have to order custom fitting sinks. And that's like everything's back ordered because we own a hardware, like a home supply store or
Oh,
a home
fun.
building center. It's called a home building center. That's what it,
Yeah.
maybe not. No, that's home hardware. That's the other home building center. Anyway, whatever, a hardware store.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. So yeah, we didn't have sinks in the bathrooms for a while.
These are the
Because
things
I-
that creative people have to deal with, you know?
Yes, partners
Yeah.
of creative people have to
Yes.
deal with the like, I'm feeling really like the bathroom needs to be done today, right now. But it was cute. It turned out. So I'll let you go and get back to life. And it was
Yeah.
so good to meet you. And we'll
Yeah,
chat
you
again soon,
too.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Thanks so much for asking.
Mama, can you hear
Yeah.
her?
Yeah.
I can't.
She's
Yeah,
like, I can't
I know.
hear her.
Yeah. I love it. I can hear her.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see more of your projects. Thanks for
Yeah.
being super open and transparent and sharing all that. I appreciate it. We'll chat soon.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
That was so fun. And Michael, she was sick too. We were both sick. She had a cold too. She's like, oh, my kids are sick. I was like, I'm sick too.
You are sick, Mom?
Well, I feel like I'm kind of sick.